And then the last thing about the upcoming election is there's a charter revision commission taking place. They have meetings coming up in May 6th, 13th, and 20th, I think. This is the second time in the last couple of years we've opened that, and they're discussing things like raises for certain public officials like the mayor and the board of directors. Should we convert the verbiage, should Manchester be known as a city, whereas we're now a town, and then maybe change the name of the board of directors to the town or city council, and then residency requirements for some high-ranking employees like the school superintendent. You just want to touch on that for a minute for us?
Yeah, I'll say broadly that it's certainly not my role is apolitical, nonpartisan, and I take that very seriously. And these issues are inherently political, not necessarily partisan, but they're political. So I don't think it's necessarily good for me to opine on some of these questions. But for the community to know how this works, the board of directors, really anytime, but they're required by the state once every 10 years to conduct and appoint a charter revision commission, which our charter is the equivalent of our constitution. So the way the constitution structures our federal government, the town charter structures our local government. And a commission is set, and they're normally directed to look at a set of issues by the board of directors. These were some of the things that they looked at. I know the city and town is a passionate discussion. I see both. Having grown up here, I see the charm of being a town that we've always been known as a town. In reality, being 60,000 people, whether we're called a town or not, we are more like a city. But I definitely see the pros and cons on both of that, on both of those sides. The compensation for the elected officials, again, is something that I think the voters have to decide on. I will say, just in terms of the mayor, anyone that knows the mayor, the current mayor, Moran, knows that he spends an inordinate amount of time on the job daily. I certainly value everything that he puts in for the town. And the current compensation, I think, probably barely covers his gas money. But again, that's something that the voters will have to weigh in on. The one that I definitely feel that I can say that I support is there would be a change of the terms in which our Board of Ed is elected. And currently it's staggered terms, which can be pretty confusing, because if someone gets elected in a certain year, they might not start their term until the following year,
right,
which I myself find confusing. And if I find it confusing, I think most of the public does. So I think that's a pretty rational reform.
Right, I saw that happen with Donna Meyer. She got elected last year, but didn't take her seat until this year. And I was like, well, how does that work?
Yep.
So thank you for explaining that. And I didn't mean to delve into the political.
No. Happy to. It's important. It's an important issue to bring up. So I would certainly recommend that anyone who's interested go to our website. We have a lot of information. In fact, even just our social media, you could go on Facebook or Instagram, and there's some pretty good explainers that go through each issue and broadly what they would do. So please check that out, because the charter is our foundational document.
Okay, so moving on now to off the election this coming November, and on to some of the big projects that are going on. From where we walked in this morning, we could see what's going on down the street. That's exciting. There's no two ways about it. The new library is coming. I know you've probably been asked to death, but just real quick, give us a rundown of, what the anticipated time frame is for the whole thing. And do we have a name picked for the new library?
Good question. It's certainly not my place to suggest any. For right now, I think it's just the Manchester Public Library. So, ultimately the board could weigh in on that name. I guess I will opine. I kind of like just the Manchester Public Library, because I think if you start trying to figure out a name, it can get dicey. Which the important thing here, and as you said, extremely exciting thing, is that after decades of a grassroots effort, we finally will have a 21st century library here in the heart of downtown Manchester, which is incredibly exciting. And there's too many people to thank that we'd be here all day if I noted them. But it really has been just a collaboration effort between so many people to get to the point where we're at now. We had the groundbreaking earlier this month, and the construction will take, estimated right now, 14-ish months. So we're looking at next summer that we'll have a brand new state-of-the-art library, a block away here downtown. It'll be 70,000 square feet. It'll allow for adequate programming. As people know, the Mary Cheney Library right now is one of the most utilized public libraries in the state, and that's even given the fact that it's only 25,000 square feet. We're going to be basically tripling the size here. So again, we're going to be able to offer the programming that meets the demands that we see from our community. We also are very happy that it's remaining downtown, that it's really going to be an anchor for everything positive going on Main Street right now. You combine that with the Charter Oak West improvement project that will be opening this summer. As people drive by, they can see that we already have the artificial soccer fields down. The parking lot is basically being finished, so people aren't going to have to park at CVS and play Frogger as they try and get across to the fields, which has been the case. And then we'll finally have a long-anticipated skate park that American Ramp Company, which is the vendor that's installing the skate park, will be starting that next week. I think May 5th, May 6th. So people will start to see the progress there, and then looking at an opening sometime this summer. So incredibly exciting there.
That was a whole series of things that was fun to watch, the way Luke got motivated.
Oh yeah,
and
excellent
started.
job by Luke.
I have to give credit to that group of,
Yep.
of people for grabbing that issue by the horns and making it happen.
No, and that's where you don't, unlike at the federal state level, you get a group of people that want to make change. Often it's futile, or if it's not, it takes so much time. Not that, I know it was a long time coming for the skate park folks, but given that, the real demand was only a few years ago, and now we're seeing the fruits of it, I think it shows what's special about local government.
I guess I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit here to the designation of a cultural district.
Mm-hmm.
I find that very exciting, and the only reason I bring it up a little bit out of order now is because we are talking about the skate park and the library, which, by the way, if I read correctly, isn't about 25% of the attendance at the library from out of town?
Yes. Yep.
So that's
And it draws people in to, patronize their businesses.
right. That's what
Yeah, yep.
that's where I was going with that, because it's not just us
Mm-hmm.
going down there. It's somebody maybe grabbing a book in a lunch at Penny's Place,
Exactly. Yep.
or any of those fine downtown establishments that we've got. What's how is that going to grow? How is the town going to leverage that for in terms of making Main Street better, or Manchester more of a cultural center?
Yeah, I think it does dovetail with other investments that we're talking about, but really highlighting both the past, present, and future of downtown, which to me is our biggest asset. We have an historic downtown that's been here for over a century, and if you look at, a lot of communities are dying to have something like we have, which is, the bones of a walkable community that has great businesses, that, where people want to live, where people come for a variety of reasons, whether it's, like you said, grabbing lunch, going to a library, grabbing a coffee, getting your hair cut, whatever it is. And the cultural district is a sort of recognition of the history that we have, really going back to the Cheneys and the silk mills, and the fact that we have, a premier theater really in Cheney Hall that puts on great plays, great performances all the time. You have the historic buildings, and then connecting to downtown and all the cultural and arts and other exhibits that go on here. It's a recognition by the state of what we have that's special here in Manchester, and it also will potentially offer us the opportunity to get some state funding to support continued arts, other civic events that go on here.
And that's in addition to all the recreational facilities that we have in town.
Yep.
Not just the skate park, but the trail systems that we have, the bike paths, the bike community that Manchester's
Yep.
just slowly succeeding in building. Charter Oak Park, Northwest Park, we have Eagles. I mean,
Yep.
we have Manchester's becoming quite an interesting place.
On that note, actually, with the recreation, I did want to put in a plug for Manchester Now, which is our updated leisure and recreation magazine, which was just published last week, and it's available online, and it gives our entire spring and summer catalog. So there are activities that oftentimes are free or for a nominal fee that are any age from my kids who are 2 and 5 to seniors can find something that interests them, whether it's exercise classes, whether it's arts types of things. There's really something for everybody. So I encourage people to check that out, Manchester Now, and sign up. I can tell you on certain terms that that what we offer in terms of recreation and leisure is not something that you see across the state.
And a hard copy goes out to the households in town too.
Yep, I just got mine this week.
Okay,
Yeah,
good,
yeah.
good. And it includes not just the information that you were talking about. There's other things in there, like program cancellation lines, so that if it's
Yep,
raining
yep,
or anything. So it's a vital, I would use that term, vital piece of information to keep on the coffee table, because if you're active, you're going to want to know what's going on and all that
Yep.
goes along with it. The Tong Building. I saw that was extended for a week, I think from the 17th to the 24th.
Yep.
But I see the pending now is the description on the bid page, which leads me to believe that we got some bids.
Yeah, so I don't want to talk too much about
I
it at this
understand
point,
that.
but I'm glad that you asked. So 942 Main Street, also known as the Tong Building, but we'll try and call it 942 Main
I'm
Street,
sorry.
which the town acquired a few years ago. Obviously, last year the building was demolished, and now we've made that space available for potential development. We have a RFP, a request for proposal, that solicited bids from and proposals from developers, and we received multiple bids. So I can say that, and it will be up to the board of directors, and there's a subcommittee of the board of directors that is tasked with analyzing those bids, and more to come in the next few months. But we're excited. Again, that's another component of downtown revitalization that is exciting for Manchester as we look out over the course of this next decade.
I thought it was great that it said pending and not
Yep.
closed.
Yep.
And another potential project could be the plans for what goes into Mary Cheney when they vacate next year. Any?
That's on the list right now. There's a lot going on, but the town is certainly very eager to fill that space. And I've said whatever the use is, in my opinion, that we now we're moving our anchor of the library from Mary Cheney because it outgrew that building's ability to serve as a 21st century library. However, that is still a tremendous asset. Historically, the Cheney building, it's a beautiful building. I think we have an anchor on the south side of Main Street. If we can have an anchor that can be an attraction for people in the community, be a community asset, and even potentially beyond, would be great. So more to come on that.
On a personal note, I think the white lights that we have down on Burnell Place would look good up there in the park, just because
I
I
like it.
mentioned that
Yeah,
before.
it's a good idea.
And it's not real expensive either. I talked to Jeff about it. And all right, while we're on the subject of Main Street, let me close it off with the downtown improvement plan. I have a couple of questions
Sure.
about that. First of all, a group of residents has filed suit to
Yep.
get the courts to reopen that and make the town at least have a vote on it.
Yep.
I have a couple of questions to go along with that. It's very early in the process right now. They're just really getting the administrative stuff. But right now the plan is to use primarily grant money to renovate downtown, and in a big way, somewhere around the $20 million. That's what the plan is now.
Yes. Yep.
If we're forced to vote and a vote goes against the town, these are all hypotheticals,
Sure.
but
Yeah, yeah.
I just want you to,
Yep.
I'm going somewhere. We're gonna have to we're gonna have to borrow money if we can't use grant money, right? Or what do you see?
Well, so there's a lot of contingencies in any answer I give, so
Okay.
don't hold me to anything, because a variety of factors and variables could change. But currently, we've secured about $8.5 million in external funding, and the grants were successful because we submitted in the proposals proven objective measures that help with primarily safety improvements. So things like the road diet that have been proven to reduce crashes and injuries. If the plan is changed in a way that modifies that, we will lose that funding. So the question is, as has been stated publicly, we're about more than 30 years now into when we last redid Main Street. So we're going to have to improve the infrastructure, redoing the road in terms of paving, redoing the sidewalks, the trees, the street lights, all those things we're going to have to pay for. If we lose the grants, to your point, and the grants will be lost if we modify those key components of the plan, then it would be on the local taxpayer to bond for that. So we're looking at probably anywhere between $10 and $15 million on the town's credit card that would be paid for through future operating budgets.
And that would affect things like a new senior center or a new community center, right?
Well, that gets to my earlier point when you brought up the library and the impact on the operating budget. That is something where, especially with interest rates higher than they used to be. I mean, 10 years ago, we basically got money for free for bonding, with interest rates, below 2%. With them higher now, not only do we have to look at our overall debt capacity, but also what we're going to be paying to service that debt. So, it's zero sum in that if we only have so much money, that certainly I would recommend that I think the board of directors would feel comfortable authorizing. So if instead of having grant money to pay for needed streetscape updates, it's on the town's bonding, then that potentially is going to push out available funding for things like a senior center or a community center. But those will all be things that need to be, once all of this plays out, things that the board, the elected body, and the community are going to have to discuss and decide.
I'm gonna, at this point, ask you if there's anything that you'd like to discuss or tell people, the community about, because we are getting close to the end of our allotted time, and I wanna make sure that if you have a message for the residents of the town of Manchester or something that you'd like them to know, that they get it directly from you.
No, I appreciate it. I would just say, that we're constantly, open and available for feedback, for questions. If people have concerns, questions, feedback about projects that are going on in town, again, a great thing about local government is that you can email me directly, you can email the board of directors directly, and you're going to get a response. My email is sstefano@manchesterct.gov. Like I said, I'm happy to meet with anybody. But overall, I'm really optimistic and excited about what's going on in town right now. We have some major historic capital projects that are happening that you don't see in a lot of cities and towns across the state and even across the country. Building a new library, expanding a park, renovating Nathan Hale, redeveloping an area, which historically had been somewhat of a blighted building into a new development. A lot of exciting things going on right now, and in addition to the day in day out service that I think our town departments do incredibly well. So I know it's easy, especially in just today's environment with social media, to be focused on the negative, and the negatives are there and we should address them. And if there's issues of quality of life sort of things, please reach out to the town. We will do our best with our limited resources to address it. But I would also like to just emphasize that Manchester's a great town, great place to live, to grow up, to work, to play, and I think we should all be excited and grateful to be part of such a great community.
I'd also like to, you may be aware of this, you may not be, but we've started the countdown to America 250.
Yes.
250th birthday.
Next year.
Yep, and the ride for Paul Revere, we've already had the anniversary.
Yep.
We were lucky enough at Center Church to be at the center of town with the 2 lights, one up by land, 2 up by sea. A good job to the Historical Society for starting that with
Yep.
a bang. There's a website, america250.com, that you can look at for information on activities that'll be taking place in Manchester. I saw that we bid for fireworks that are going to be very, very special for next year.
Yep.
So there's reason for enthusiasm in Manchester and our world in general, and I really want to thank you for taking your time and speaking to me. We could have, before we went live, we could do this all day. It's a truly enjoyable experience, and I look forward to the next time we get a chance to do it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Tom, for everything that you do to promote things that are going on in the community, and being such a great ambassador for the town that we both love. So
Thanks, sir.